It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen here on the Full Court Press. Jason Walker has the day off, getting some work done on his teeth. A little hard to speak into the microphone when you can't feel your mouth. It might be entertaining for a lot of us, but not for him. So he's got the day off. We'll excuse him for it. So just me flying solo here over the next couple of hours with you, and love to have your feedback and your participation to make these 2 hours go by a lot more smoothly. Love to hear from you and get your reactions to a couple different topics going on today. As we teased, we will be hearing from Coach Anderson and some of the players as they kind of share some of their thoughts about the Air Force win that they had on Saturday and then getting ready for Colorado State coming up this weekend. Interesting comment from Daniel Grzesiak from July when I spoke to him at the Utah State Media Day. And this is definitely one of two games on the Utah State football calendar that he has circled. I'll explain that coming up a little bit. But love to continue to get your thoughts and reactions to what happened on Saturday with Utah State and Air Force. If you want to have any more reactions to the scrimmage for Utah State basketball on Friday, we can do that as well. We've got the full audio from Coach Ryan Odom. I'm mixing coaches. From Ryan Odom that we could get to. But also the Major League Baseball playoffs continue. And so continue to look at the scoreboard there of what's going on in the league divisional series that are going on. And then recapping the weekend for the NFL now that weekend is done. And several different interesting storylines to take from that NFL weekend. I know that it started on Thursday and then concluded last night, but there's been a lot of talk, I know, on this station with some of our national programs, but we'll have a chance for you to weigh in, too, on more of a local level as well. But a number of overreactions, I believe, in how different quarterbacks were treated and certain plays were treated over the weekend in reaction to what happened to Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. So, and there's some controversy after what happened after the Kansas City and Las Vegas game last night with Davante Adams, and I know that's been a hot topic as well. And we just heard that it's still going on. There's investigations, a police report. The photographer was taken to the hospital, and so I think that it could have been an opportunity to go after a high-profile NFL athlete who is worth a lot of money. But no, here's a guy who ran right in front of him. When you look at the different angles, the first angle I saw with the Davante Adams issue, it looked like, okay, this guy looks like a jerk. He's a sore loser, and he's pushing some scrub, some just worker who's moving equipment, and pushes him down to get out of his way. Okay, that's not a classic thing to do, but when I've looked at it from other angles, particularly those who that are following behind Davante Adams as he's coming into the area in the tunnel, this guy runs right in front of him and cuts him off and gets in his way. Now, should he have pushed him to the side like he did? Maybe not so aggressively, but I think this is being overblown, taking a little bit too much out of context, especially when you see some of these other angles. And you consider the guy's wearing a helmet, probably his head's down, he's trying to just get out of there, and then somebody's all of a sudden right up on him, and he's trying to clear some space. So I think it's as much ado about nothing. But if you want to weigh in on a lot of different topics that we have today, 435-339-0321. Utah Jazz are in action today as well. They've got their another preseason basketball game tonight. It's going to be their first preseason game at Vivint Smart Home Arena, taking on the San Antonio Spurs. A couple players will rest because of rest, certainly the more veteran variety. A couple other players still recovering from injury, notably Malik Beasley and Udoka Azubuike. But pretty much everybody else will have some opportunities as training camp continues for the Utah Jazz to try to fine-tune their roster, who's going to stay on, who's going to get cut, who may be headed to the G League. So we can talk about that as well, and whatever else may be on your mind. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. 5338 texting in, will there be a postseason top 20 Aggies list? Really good question. Now, after the first few weeks, both Jason and I talked about how much we need to revise our preseason top 25 lists. Some of that was because some transfers who we didn't know what they would look like, some players that we had anticipation for how they might integrate and may utilize, and they haven't materialized just yet. And certainly we've had some players who have been hurt and have taken out of the mix. So that's not a bad idea, though, to recast the top 20 Aggies. Now we did top 25. I don't know if we'll go full 25, but it may be interesting to do some of a postseason list after it's all said and done. But 5 games through the season so far, yeah, there's a lot of different players that I would move up and some that I would definitely move down on the list that we put together before the season. And remind you, we put that list together before any practices, before any fall scrimmages. This was purely based on the year before, what we saw in spring, and what we had anticipated for what was going on in the summer. So not to say that's an excuse that we may have missed on a few guys, but that's just the reality as it was, and there were some people we just didn't know. And there were some that were perhaps a little overhyped, and some that definitely were underhyped. So anyway, but not a bad suggestion there, 5338. We may have to take a look at that. But definitely this Utah State football team has been turning a corner, and finally they turned it enough to get the victory on Saturday. So 2-4 on the season with 7 games left to go. And so 6 games left to go. Bad math. But, this is a team that now halfway through, is there, how much of a possibility is it that they become bowl eligible? And I was looking at the ESPN does a game-by-game kind of who may be favored to win, and that changes as the season goes on. And a few weeks ago, it didn't look like Utah State was going to be favored to beat really hardly anybody, but that's been changing. And now Utah State sits in a position where they're favored to beat Colorado State, New Mexico, and Hawaii, but they're only being given a 33% chance at Hawaii, 29.7% chance at home against San Jose, and only a 14.7% chance at Boise State. So if the Aggies are going to get bowl eligible, win the games they're predicted to win, and you got to pick up another one somewhere else. So Colorado State, New Mexico, and Hawaii, the Aggies should be able to pick up those games. So where's that 4th game going to come from that gets them to bowl eligibility? I would suggest that Wyoming is your greatest chance of doing that. It's always tough to play in Laramie, but the way San Jose is playing so far, and Boise is always tough to beat in Boise, those are going to be much more challenging. But, the game at Wyoming, yeah, maybe. But certainly they got to get past Colorado State first. That's coming up this Saturday, 5 o'clock kickoff on CBS Sports Network. And a couple of things before we get too much into that Colorado State team, like who they are, what they look like, and what the coaches and players are saying about them, it's still worth going back and highlighting some of the things that were different and really worked for USU against Air Force. And one of the things that stood out to me on Monday, talking to the coach and the players, was how Utah State essentially changed who they are defensively up front and how they attacked that Air Force running attack. Interesting comments here from Coach Blake Anderson yesterday.
To me, where our style of defense showed up was when they pitched the ball and put the ball in the perimeter, how fast we were able to chase it down, how fast we were able to recover on the play action shots downfield. We didn't give up the big post, the big vertical. They had the one exchange where we tripped. Really, Dom Tatum's going right to the guy to cover him down and gets picked off, or we matched up on that stuff. So it wasn't so much tackles for loss and sacks as it was the speed on the perimeter, the speed to chase things down without them getting out into open space, and the speed to be able to recover on the play actions. We did still make it very difficult for them to move the ball. If you look at just the average per carry and the yardage compared to what they normally have, it did show up. It just looks a little bit different in the stat line.
And so that was some of the defensive successes against Air Force. But this is what he said about changing kind of who they are up front that caused some success in slowing down and having some of those defensive successes. And it was because of how they changed the way that they were attacking the line on Saturday compared to what they've done most of the year to this point.
A lot of our vertical push up field was a problem. It created gaps that we couldn't fill at the second and third level. We changed our techniques dramatically. We played more lateral, more squeezing gaps down. I think we had a much better beat on what to expect from Air Force as well. They spent a tremendous amount of time looking for tendencies and alignment keys, and it did help us. We knew a lot better about what to expect based off of how they lined down and deployed their fronts. So technically we changed, and then just a better idea of what to anticipate and better communication with our guys. I just think we played more physically as well. I think the defense had a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and I think that one of the other things, too, that needs to be highlighted is just how this team seems to have been coming together more as a team. And earlier in the year, it was a concern that was expressed, but I don't think too many of us took it too seriously until after the losses started piling up, and it became a glaring issue with Utah State, and that is that this team early on was lacking in student leadership, not enough vocal leaders holding each other accountable. And that was a big point of emphasis for Coach Anderson and his other coaches and those few senior leaders and others who were speaking up, that not enough of them were. And that's certainly been something that's been changing since that Weber State loss. And there was still some issues with unsportsmanlike penalties and issues that caused Utah State to basically shoot themselves in the foot. But this has been getting better and has been improving over these last few weeks for Utah State, and that has not gone unnoticed by Blake Anderson. And just looking at the leadership of his team and how that's improving.
It looks different than it did a year ago. It's not the same group, but in their own way, guys are taking ownership. The main thing is the group as a whole has continued to work. Even though it's been frustrating and things weren't going perfectly, the group as a whole has accepted coaching, accepted the leadership of other guys, and continue to work, and we've continued to get better.
So more on that here in just a little bit. Want to get back to your texts on our Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321 if you want to weigh in. 9315 says, does anything that we did in the Air Force game usable in any of our other games left? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's usable in any other future game that's still on the schedule. Like that, the defensive front, as we just heard, didn't go as much vertical to get after the quarterback because you're wasting your energy and you're creating lanes for Air Force if you do that. So the defensive front did change against Air Force. I imagine they'll go back to more vertical, utilizing speed, getting after the quarterback. However, it did teach this team and did teach that defensive front and those linebackers how to play more sound in the run game and in as teams may try to exploit certain gaps with their own offensive front. So great opportunities for this team, this Aggie team, to have success, to see success in being able to not stop, because you can't really stop Air Force, but you can limit and frustrate Air Force. And that's really what they were able to do. Slow them down, not stop them, but slow them down and limit them. Few teams that they face will be as effective as Air Force in how they do things in running the ball. Now, there are some teams that have some solid running backs still ahead on the schedule, but as a whole, as a team, as a full unit, nobody's going to do it quite like Air Force does. So Utah State has, I think, learned some important lessons in how they changed up their scheme a little bit, held firm to their defensive assignments, and was able to slow some things down after giving up a lot of yards to a specific running back in the first half. They dramatically limited him in his ability in the second. So really encouraged by what they did defensively there. Now, offensively, look, I don't think that we saw a different offensive scheme from Utah State on Saturday. I think we just saw a team that's gaining confidence and was seeing opportunities and took advantage of those opportunities. So, yeah, I think, to broadly answer the question, I think there are a lot of things that were done against Air Force that you will see that could be used in future games for Utah State. And certainly one of those highlights for Utah State was Brian Cobbs and how he emerged. And it's not like he just came out of nowhere on Saturday. He had some great moments earlier in the season, but that was his biggest game, just putting together an entire game from Brian Cobbs. And Anderson was quick to point out that it wasn't necessarily the game plan to always go to him. Some of it was just based on what Air Force was doing defensively that provided opportunities for him. But certainly he has been working hard and putting in the work, and now that's starting to emerge with success on the field in these games, and that's really gratifying.
He's super solid. Loved him all along the way. Knew he was a guy that would work hard, big body guy that didn't mind catching the ball with people around him. I think he had a great connection with Logan. He's continued that with Coop. They both have a lot of confidence in him. He's winning in one-on-one situations, and he's got a capacity to play the whole game. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like there's particularly any difference between their confidence in Terrell or in Griff. It's just one of those games where, man, everything we did with Cobb tend to turn out in a good way. We want to continue to spread it around. Want to make sure everybody's got to be defended, but his work ethic and the way he approaches every day, it does show up on the field. And he came through big when we absolutely had to have him. 3rd and 1, vertical catch that was tough to make. A 4th and 1 or 2 slant route with a competitive catch. Those were two of the biggest of the day, and clearly getting us on the board with a touchdown early with a slip move inside and getting over the top. So, he's playing at a really high level.
Yeah, that was really fun to see him play so well. Over 130 yards catching, got into the end zone. Great performance by Calvin Tyler Jr. Certainly Cooper Lega was solid. And so your big three on offense came through. And just as you need it to happen. And that's what worked for Utah State. And is that going to be the same recipe against Colorado State? Will it be the same three? Certainly you'd hope at least 2 of the 3 are the same, but it's not, I guess, necessary that it's the same personnel because we've seen McGriff be the leading receiver in a game this season. We could see Vaughn continue to shine and have some big moments. So there's other guys who could have some opportunities. Brock Lane is expected to be back this next week and utilizing that tight end could be a really interesting opportunity to see that concept used a little bit more. So, but it's certainly when it comes down to it, when it boils down to it, though, a team that has a quarterback that throws and frankly runs efficiently, a wide receiver who can dominate, and a running back who can get to or push close to 100 yards rushing, you're going to have a good day. And odds are definitely in your favor that you're going to come out on top in that game. In fact, there is a specific formula that Coach Anderson looks at that has proven to be the secret sauce for his football team and success while here at Utah State. What is that? We'll talk about that coming up next here on the Full Court Press. But if you want to weigh in, love to hear from you, 435-339-0321. We'll also look back at Week 5 in the NFL, some overreactions, several different locations with quarterbacks and how you can even touch or defend a quarterback. I don't even know how anybody would want to be a defensive player playing college or NFL football anymore with the way that the rules are changing. So we'll get into that. And Utah Jazz have their first home preseason game a little bit later on tonight as well. Touch on all of those things. Get your comments on our Full Court Press text line as well here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Hey, Aggie fans! Looking for the best burger in town? Bring the family to Prodigy Brewing and try out our signature Prodigy Supreme Burger or a wood-fired pizza. Need a smaller plate for the kids? Our kids menu has you covered. Whether you are out with the family or just want to catch the Aggies game with friends, Prodigy Brewing is the place to be in Cache Valley, located at 25 West Center Street in beautiful downtown Logan.
Thermo Fisher Scientific is hiring for their manufacturing, distribution, and warehouse team. And that's great news for anyone seeking a rewarding career. Thermo Fisher offers positions across multiple shifts, competitive compensation, health benefits, paid time off, bonuses, and an excellent work environment. Help Thermo Fisher make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. Visit job.thermofisher.com and search Logan. Thermo Fisher Scientific is an equal opportunity employer.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Is there a doctor here?
Listen.
Yeah, it was just kind of unlucky what happened. It was unfortunate. We felt like we could push the pace.
There's an expression that my coach in college, Eddie Sutton, used to have, which is, you can be tired, but you can't play tired. Like, Gerald Everett, I know you're sucking that wind. I know you need it out of the game. But, bro, you just quit because you were tired.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
It was a normal day.
He was in some minor accident, a fender bender.
And I had this impulse to call him, but I didn't, because I thought I could call him later that week.
He abandoned the car, he came home, and he shot himself without ever talking to anyone.
When I came home that night and I found her, they told me that she had shot herself, and I couldn't believe it.
I asked if he was okay.
Taking a gun into your house for protection is a terrible myth.
Once you pull that trigger, that's it. There is no coming back.
65 Americans a day die by gun suicide. Store your gun securely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammunition. Help stop suicide. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Staying on course without support is tough. With help from family and community, you get valuable support for recovery from a mental or substance use disorder. Join the Voices for Recovery. Visible, vocal, valuable.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen with you here, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. If you want to weigh in on the topics of the day, feel free to text into the Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321 and 9315, saying, seeing we ran really well in the Air Force game on offense should really help in other games. Yes, no, maybe so, and I say yes. Yes, absolutely yes. If you can't run very well, then you're not going to get many other things flowing. Now, Utah State's team last year kind of proved otherwise, that the passing game overcame kind of a lackluster rushing attack, but there were multiple dynamic wide receivers. This year's team doesn't have multiple dynamic wide receivers, so you need the running game to be effective. And with Calvin Tyler, he's been pretty effective this year. There's been some games where that hasn't gone great. That's not always on him as to why that is. Briggs provides another option, and certainly with Cooper Laga, that opens things up and keeps things moving on the ground as well. So an effective rushing attack from Utah State can pay huge dividends down the road for Utah State. And this was an offensive line that had some inexperienced guys that they were trying to fit in there and figure out. Give credit to that offensive line coming together and becoming more confident, more snaps, more time, more reps. It's starting to work out, and running back can only run as effectively as the lanes and gaps are created for him to most degrees. I mean, not totally. I mean, if it's not there, then a speedy running back can get around the edges and get around it. But generally speaking, I think you need to give a lot of credit to that offensive line as well, not just to Calvin Tyler and his progression and Cooper Laga and how well he's doing rushing the ball also. But definitely a couple different things that need to be highlighted there for Utah State. We've been hearing a couple things from Coach Anderson and reflecting back on the game against the Air Force, highlighting some specific players, how the team was coming together with their leadership, some things that they changed on defense. But one of the things that he did talk about is that there is a specific formula for success for Utah State in his time here in Logan. And it's not the simple thing about scoring more points than the other team. Come on, it's more. There's a little more to it than that. But there is a specific formula that Coach Anderson looks at. If you do these things, the Aggies are going to win. Here's what he explains.
We're 13-0 here when we win the turnover battle and the explosive play battle. I mean, the formula is pretty clear. We need to play physical and reduce the explosive play. We need to create those through energy and effort and great execution on offense. We can't turn the ball over. We got to create turnovers. Those are the same reasons that we won games on the road last year. We affected those areas through effort and our conditioning and really decision-making and discipline. And this group's learning that. We've put that together twice this year, and those are the two games we've won. So the conversation is going to be about, the ability to go out and do that every week and control what you can control. We can control our energy. We can make good decisions and, throw the ball away and punt the ball when we need to. And obviously the effort that gets you to the second and third levels, gets you to a ball where you can strip it out, gets you to a batted ball, you can pick it off. I mean, those are things we've got to continue to affect.
Yeah, on Saturday, 7 explosives for Utah State compared to 2 from Air Force. 2 takeaways by the Aggies compared to 1 for Air Force. So they won in both of those categories. And, we saw the result. And in some of the other games that we've seen where they've struggled, BYU had 6 explosives compared to only 3 from USU. They had 3 takeaways, and the Aggies didn't have any. So, you can see, kind of the results. Even in the UNLV game, explosives was pretty even. The Aggies had 1 more explosive than UNLV did, but they had 6 takeaways, and that's just really hard to overcome for just about anybody. So, those are things that this Utah State squad has proven to be pretty good at it, when they're hitting on both of those, then that's it's going to yield the results. It's going to win the game. Going back to our full court press text line, 9315, texting it again. Is Jason filling in the janitor's shoes by being gone a lot? And we bring it up when he comes back, he'll say, okay, as in, yeah, right. I hope he's not gone a lot. But he is gone today, getting work done on his teeth. He'll be gone tomorrow, too, by the way, just because we've got some high school football on a Wednesday, as a Logan High football will be at Cottonwood. And Jason Walker is the play-by-play voice of the Logan High Grizzlies on KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM. We won't have any high school football here on the Fan because Skyview will not be playing. Mountain Crest, they're going to be hosting Maple Mountain. And Bear River hosting Salem Hills. And then Ridgeline heading over the hill to take on the Box Elder Bees in Brigham City. So kind of an interesting Wednesday lined up for our local high school football teams. And I know some of our Idaho schools and Rich, they will be playing on Friday. So keep an eye on CashValleyDaily.com for the replays. Well, you can watch the games live. We'll have streams, video streams available there. Opportunities to listen to those games on a variety of different local radio stations and online if you're outside of the area. And then we'll have the scoreboard and photo galleries, and all that will be posted on Cache Valley Daily over the next several days. So you can go back and watch that. But getting back to Utah State, this is a team that, as we talked about, their formula for success, and they can't get away from that against Colorado State. This is a team that had a change at quarterback. Their starting quarterback left. He's going to transfer. They've got a freshman quarterback. They've had a couple other guys hurt. One of their leading corners announced this week that he's going to transfer. That's a program in disarray, which is a little surprising, to be honest, because it was a team with good players last year, but was poorly coached. And Jay Norvell comes in, and I thought, okay, here's a guy who started to have some success in Reno. I think he kind of knows what he's doing. And he comes to Fort Collins, and it's been a shambles. So I'm pretty surprised, to be honest. I thought Colorado State would be, I wasn't thinking they'd be at the top of the Mountain West, but I thought they'd be a competitive team in the middle of the pack, perhaps. Instead, they're at the bottom. Now, they did get their first win at Nevada over the weekend. That was a big, exciting game for that coach and those players. A lot of transfers, a lot on the line there, a lot of emotion in that game. But that game was won at the end as time expired on an untimed down. Initially missed the field goal, which would have been the game winner. But the Nevada players bump into the Colorado kicker, so they get one more chance, and he hits it to win the game for them. But there certainly is a connection here in Logan for this game. Not just revenge. This is a team that really got after Logan Bonner last year, made it difficult for the Aggies. Really, that game last year came down to the wire for Utah State. Colorado State had all kind of, it was a madhouse on who's coming on the field and who's not, and what they're going to do on the down as the clock is running down and is rushed. And their kicker, who was really good to that point, got rushed and flustered and ends up missing a field goal, which would have won the game for Colorado State. But besides all of that drama, Utah State has on their roster a transfer from Nevada who's going to know who that coach is across the way and has a relationship with a significant number of players across the way as well. And that's Daniel Grzesiak, the Utah State defensive end. And he's getting excited for this one, and not just this one game on the schedule, but there's another team on the schedule too that he's excited to face a little bit later on in the year.
Okay, Colorado State's gonna be a highlight because my old coaches is there. You know, I got to do it to them. I still got love for my coaches. They was great coaches. They taught me a lot. But Colorado State and Hawaii, my guy, Coach Timmy Chang, he a legend. He used to coach me when I played tight end. He the head coach at Hawaii now. But I can't wait to play him because that's my guy. And you know, I just got to show him. I just got to show him who the Aggies is.
So there you go, Daniel Grzesiak, excited for 2 games on the schedule. He's got 2 games circled. This one. And the one at Hawaii coming up in a month on November 12th. So, Daniel Grzesiak knows those coaches, very familiar with those guys. Timmy Chang used to be part of that coaching staff, and Ned's now a first-year head coach at Hawaii. So, interesting combination or recognitions over there with what's going on with Daniel Grzesiak and the Colorado State sideline. 9315, another text. Is it above the coach's head that they are in disarray with Colorado State football? Is it above the coach's head, like because of their athletic department or the university? Or is he just in over his head? I'm not sure I fully understand the text there, 9315. But Jay Norvell, I thought he was an okay coach. I was surprised he was seemed like a lateral move to stay in conference, but Colorado State has a bigger budget, has a better stadium, has more facilities. So it was, and he got paid almost twice. So it was definitely a step up for him to go to Colorado State. But he was a guy that was kind of had a mediocre time at Nevada, then started to see some success. They had a great running back, a great quarterback, and some really good wide receivers. And they started to really advance and play well and pick up some wins. I think they kind of underperformed last year based on what that team was expected to be able to do. But then he comes over to Colorado State, and it's been a mess over there. So kind of surprising. Is it over his head? I don't know. I mean, it's I think nobody should judge too harshly after the first year. You're dealing with other people's recruits, other people's systems that and habits that are in place. It takes a little bit for a coach to really put their own personal stamp on things. I usually say you need to wait till the 3rd season to really know how good a coach is or isn't. So I think we have to still give him a little bit of time before we really know what he's going to be like at Colorado State. 5338 texting in, drop the puck, opening night in the NHL. Yeah, it's exciting for the start of the NHL season. It's a long season for the NHL, but it's getting underway. And that's about all I know. 5338. I saw something earlier today that, yes, tonight is the opening night. And really, that's about all that I know. I couldn't tell you who the favorites are going to be, but here's hoping for a great NHL season. I think last year worked out pretty good for them. I heard that they got some pretty solid ratings and that the hockey NHL as a league is pretty healthy. But that's really all I can tell you, unfortunately. Not as well versed on the whole NHL. Sorry, I was reading another thing on the cut sheet. So yes, thank you for the shout out for the NHL. I know they're starting, and that's about all that I can say. Coming up next on the Full Court Press, we'll talk about the NFL. Week 5 just concluded last night. Controversy last night, and several controversial calls over the weekend. And is it an overreaction to what happened a week ago with Miami and Tua Tagovailoa? Are the referees in the NFL taking away what any defender may be able to do anymore in this league? Several controversial calls last night in Kansas City as well, and then some controversy after the game too. So a lot to discuss with what's going on in the NFL. Love to get your thoughts and reactions to it. 435-339-0321 right here on the Full Court Press.
Fall is in the air and it's getting colder. Make sure your vehicle is well maintained. Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Logan across from Angie's can help. As the weather turns colder, your car needs more babying and an oil change is easy. They'll change your oil and also check other fluid levels and replace your air filters if needed. The best thing, you can stay in your car while their trained professionals service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 695 North Main, open 7 days a week.
This is James Stevens with White Pine Funeral Services. We are humbled by and grateful for the tremendous support we have been shown since opening our doors nearly 2 years ago. So we just want to say thank you. On behalf of everyone at White Pine, first and foremost, thank you for allowing us the honor and privilege of serving you and caring for your loved ones. Additionally, thank you for voting White Pine the best mortuary in Cache Valley in both 2021 and 2022.
White Pine Funeral Services, here when you need us most.
S.E. Needham Jewelers is where Utah gets engaged. Couples throughout the state buy their rings from S.E. Needham Jewelers because of our low prices, extensive ring selection, and extraordinary benefits and services with financing available. Go to seneedham.com to learn more. We have many unique and beautiful engagement rings starting at $500. You'll find affordable engagement rings with our integrity price guarantee. This is why we are where Utah gets engaged. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
For over 20 years, Aegis Home Health and Hospice has been providing health care to Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties. Whatever or wherever your health care needs, Aegis' goal is to meet those needs. Aegis Home Health and Hospice core values are character, experience, and trust. Aegis, AEGIS, striving to provide the health care services you need. Aegis Home Health and Hospice. Call 723-9000 or find them at myaegis.com.
This is The Herd.
Attention listeners.
With Colin Cowherd.
Dak Prescott makes $40 million a year, and it cannot beat good teams since his rookie year. Here is Dak Prescott versus playoff teams in his career. 12-21. What is he, Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football? Oh, wait. That's actually what I've compared him to the last 2 years.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Looking for ways to serve but don't know where to begin? Go to justserve.org, a free site to help those who want to serve find opportunities nearby. Just Serve has teamed up with organizations nationwide. Go to justserve.org and type in your city, and you'll see a list of service opportunities. Sign up on Just Serve to receive emails letting you know about new projects. Just Serve is fast, free, and easy. JustServe.org is provided as a service by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Hey, Valvoline Instant Oil Change is right across from Angie's on Main Street in Logan. Stop in and get your vehicle serviced by trained professionals, and they're now open on Sundays, so you can do it every day of this week. 7 days a week, 695 North Main in Logan. That's Valvoline Instant Oil Change. One of the things I want to get to here today, and certainly we always do this on Tuesdays, Stat That Blew Our Minds, our Player of the Week. So if you've got some nominations for that, we'll take those and share those as we get going as well. 435-339-0321 if you want to weigh in, give a nomination on something like that. And do that on our Full Court Press text line. 5879 texting in on that line says the NFL, maybe they have a point there because there are rules against blindside blocks and blocks in the back, so maybe this is more about protecting a defenseless player, and quarterbacks are in that position quite a bit. Okay, so I was thinking that there seemed to be a bit of an overreaction in the NFL over this weekend. With all the controversy surrounding Tua Tagovailoa, and was he inserted back into a game before he was ready? Because he got tackled a few weeks ago, came back the following week, and people were questioning. He looked like he was concussed, but he came back, and then he got tackled again, and it was ugly. And so is the NFL kind of pivoting? We're going to take extra precautions here because the protocol is under a lot of scrutiny. Now, is it being followed properly? Are they doing it right? Are we still putting players in harm's way? And we saw, again, a Dolphins quarterback seemingly taken out of the game early. Didn't look like he had problems. He was given thumbs up. He was talking to his players after being tackled. And there was, it seemed like there was solid communication, but he gets sent to the locker room. Tom Brady looks like he gets sacked, and it looked like a clean and normal play that you'd see any normal football game. But there's a flag thrown for roughing the passer, and we saw it again last night with Derek Carr. He gets tackled. The ball gets stripped. Kansas City recovers the ball, but flag thrown, roughing the passer. So not only do they not get the turnover, but Las Vegas maintains the ball and moves the ball upfield even more. So it seems like a bit of an overreaction in trying to swing the pendulum the other way. And when I watch some of these plays, I'm just watching these plays thinking, how does anybody even go after a quarterback anymore? Are we just going to put flags under their belts? And when you pull the flag, maybe some sound or a light goes off and, oh, you're down. I don't care what your throwing motion is. We're just doing two-hand touch or flag football for the quarterback. But I did see there was a pool reporter that got to ask the lead official for the game last night and was asking specifically about that play, that roughing the passer call on Derek Carr. And essentially the ref was defending the call, saying it was the correct call because the quarterback was in somewhat of a defenseless position. And the strip, the ball comes loose, doesn't matter. It's how he was hit. And I get if you're trying to protect a defenseless player, but at the same time, some of those look like normal tackles that you'd see in any other game. So it just seems to me like they're this uber sensitive with anything involving the quarterback position. Any other player, I saw lots of guys going up to attempt to catch a ball, and they're exposed, and they get separated from the ball, but there's no flag thrown there. So I just think it's become really, really hard for defensive players in general to make plays. We've made it hard for cornerbacks and safeties to defend wide receivers, and we've made it really hard for linebackers, defensive ends, to go after quarterbacks. I get it. Scoring is fun. Seeing big plays, that's fun. That's what people want to watch. But we don't celebrate the defensive players like we should. And we should celebrate when a defensive player makes a great play. When a defensive player comes through and makes a stop. But we just look at that as, oh, that defensive guy slowed down and took away an opportunity for a highlight. When instead we should be celebrating that as a highlight. And I just think we're getting away from celebrating defense. And it's really unfortunate because there are some outstanding players who can make great plays. Believe me, I'm all about protecting players and being mindful about the impact of the game on people's long-term health. Too much of sport, especially football, can be viewed as a plug and play. Once that player's injured, you just grind them out until you can't use them anymore and then just plug in a new player at that position because there's plenty of them coming up from the college ranks. But you gotta let defensive players play. I don't know if it's going to kind of come back to the mean or if it's kind of setting a new precedent going forward. I don't know. But it just seems like there were a number of cases this past week from Thursday to Monday where it just seemed like a bit of an overreaction, being overprotective of the quarterback position. I understand protecting somebody who's not in a position to defend themselves, or at least, come down in a little bit easier manner. But, defensive players have a job to do, and we seem like we're making it harder and harder for them to do their job. 435-339-0321 if you want to weigh in. Agree or disagree? Love to get your takes on that. We'll look back at not just the overreactions from the weekend, but the results as well, and hear more from Coach Anderson, some of the players too, and getting ready for their matchup with Colorado State and more of their reactions to what happened against Air Force last Saturday also. 435-339-0321.
Ride the bus to the North Logan Pumpkin Walk Thursday through Saturday, October 6th through 8th, and Monday and Tuesday, October 10th and 11th. The Cache Valley Transit District will provide zero-fare bus service from Greenville Elementary to the Pumpkin Walk at Elk Ridge Park. Bus service begins at 6 p.m. and runs till 10, beginning at Greenville Elementary. The CVTD bus is always warm, dry, and clean, and gets you closer to the entrance of the Pumpkin Walk. Have fun, be safe, and enjoy this year's North Logan Pumpkin Walk by riding with the Cache Valley Transit District.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, the Allergy Clinic, and Hearing Aid Center are now located in Providence, and Cache Valley's newest and most up-to-date medical clinic located at 2245 North 400 East in North Logan, just south of Cache Valley Hospital. The entire staff and Dr. Benyon, Blotter, and Robinette look forward to helping you and your family at this state-of-the-art medical facility. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is now located in Providence and their new office at 2245 North 400 East in North Logan. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for details. Most insurance products, including SelectMed, are accepted.
This is The Herd.
Attention listeners.
With Colin Cowherd.
Dak Prescott makes $40 million a year, and it cannot beat good teams since his rookie year. Here is Dak Prescott versus playoff teams in his career. 12-21. What is he, Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football? Oh, wait. That's actually what I've compared him to the last 2 years.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Don't get caught without power after a windstorm or a major winter freeze. Golden Spike Electric offers Generac backup generators so you can be prepared and keep your home warm while avoiding frozen pipes. Golden Spike Electric is one of the largest Generac dealers around, so you know it'll be installed right. Whether you're a homeowner or an electrician, contact Golden Spike Electric to rest easy the next time the power goes out. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. They also service other models.
This is Chris from the Cater Shop Menswear Store. We believe how you look is the first message you deliver. This also includes our floors at the store. Daryl at Chem Drive Northern Utah and his team came in after hours, cleaned the entire store, and had it ready to go before we opened the next day. I trust Daryl and his team from Chem Drive Northern Utah.
Chem Drive of Northern Utah. Chem Drive of Northern Utah. 435-752-6100.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
And get yourself prepared for the winter with your help from your locally owned Napa Auto Parts. Antifreeze and fuel stabilizer, ice melt, RV antifreeze, and even those Heat Storm Tradesman infrared heaters that are portable and you can wall mount them also. Great for shops or your garage. It's all in stock now at your 5 locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts stores. And they sponsor the Dan Patrick Above the Noise segment coming up here in just a few minutes. Getting back to our Full Court Press text line, 9315. Texting in, the player of the week is rookie Justin Bean with his winning his team's dance-off. Yeah, I saw the video. Justin Bean, there's kind of a rookie hazing, which is kind of popular throughout the NBA. You throw the rookies out at a scrimmage or a preseason game and make them do something silly. For Utah, it was all the rookies had to sing Baby Shark. But for the Grizzlies, they had a dance-off. All the rookies had to go into midcourt and do a little dance. And Justin Bean, he had some moves. Great footwork. Unfortunately, it didn't secure him a spot on the roster as he was cut just the other day. 7994. Should we really call it defense if the only reason an offense doesn't score is because they didn't execute, like drop a pass or overthrow the receiver? Yeah. I mean, the way that game ended last night, I don't know that was Kansas City defense winning the game. It was two Raiders receivers running into each other. I feel bad for the Raiders, the way their season has gone. So many opportunities squandered for them so far this year. A team that was a dark horse Super Bowl team, Derek Carr, dark horse MVP candidate. I mean, they got all the trappings to do it. They just haven't been able to put a full game together and seal the deal. It's really kind of crazy how that season has gone for them. Bizarre, to be honest. 435-339-0321. We'll get into the player of the week and stat that blew my mind coming up next hour. If you want to give a recommendation or a nomination for either, I'd love to get it on our Full Court Press text line. We'll also get into the Major League Baseball playoffs. How did you like the wild card format this year and just how the playoffs are going on so far in Major League Baseball? And recapping Week 5 of the NFL and looking back at how some former Aggies did in the NFL over the weekend as well. So we'll touch on all of those, including more audio from Coach Blake Anderson and some of the players looking back on that great win over Air Force and looking ahead to what they've got coming up this weekend at Colorado State. It's coming up next hour. Stick around here on The Fan.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The NFL has a long history of controversial calls, and in a world where almost every game is available to be seen, streamed, or replayed, we are now more aware of blown calls than ever before. This week's NFL slate, a perfect example of that. The football world was up in arms after this weekend's Falcons defensive tackle Grady Jarrett tossed Tom Brady to the ground, drawing a roughing the passer penalty. And then last night, Chris Jones flagged for a similar play. I understand the NFL wants to protect quarterbacks, but at a certain point, a line needs to be drawn. Both calls, questionable at best. But the worst part is they both extended scoring drives, and in Tampa's case, the call even extended the Buccaneers' game-winning drive. For now, we have no choice but to live with the league's decision. But if this continues to be a trend come playoff time, the NFL could be setting itself up for an ugly end to a meaningful postseason. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.